doing that in a couple of weeks. That'll be live. You can sign up for that. And introductory ACT training and other stuff. We're actually working on ACT as pattern recognition course now. You can access all of those by clicking the button below. It says click here to sign up for
this way.
Oh, it's down there. Well,
I'm pointing. If I'm on the side now, it's on my.
Well, it's down that from where I am. It's down there, but it's right below the picture.
Yes.
And so
Can't miss it.
And same. What's up? No clue. Nice to meet you. So we are. That's how we keep all of this going. There's people buying those courses. So. Please do. Please do.
Hey,
Other things.
Arizona?
Arizona. Hello, Kelly from Arizona.
I've been all over Arizona, actually.
Really? Your old stomping ground?
The Arizona Saguaro Desert Cactus Museum, Tucson, Grand Canyon. I don't know. I was all over the place.
Wow. Good for you.
It was fun.
In
April, it was fun. It wasn't scaldingly hot.
Yeah.
Like right now, it's probably pretty hot in Arizona.
Yeah,
right?
I know it's hot in Texas, which is where I'm from. So now the dry heat, yeah. Right up. In my life, I've only known 100% humidity heat. It's breathtaking, to say the least. So there we go. We got our ad in. People are going to be very kind and run right over there and sign up for a course. Right? We certainly invite you.
Happy so.
This is the way we operate, folks. We're not high pressure salesmen. But, it certainly helps us out if you do purchase a course. But in the meantime, I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and it's going to become just Phil and I. And we're going to have a little conversation about intermediate ACT training. So, where is it? Oh, there's a few people online. Melinda's here, and Jasmine has shown up. Simon and Kelly. All right, and many more people end up watching the recording. It's a sign of the times. It's what people do. That's why most of our courses are self-paced,
on demand.
On demand, because that's what
on demand.
That's what we all want. But in order to prepare such things, people like Phil and I got to show up.
Yeah, we got to do some behind-the-scenes stuff first.
Well, eventually we got to show up and do the recording.
And right,
this is one of the recordings. And on Monday of our usual sequence, we did beginning act. And we talked about tea time. Oh, yeah, tea time. I love tea time.
Ooh.
We talked about show up, let go, get moving. Get moving, show up, let go. However, whichever way you want it. And they're the three basic processes of ACT. That's what's going on. Now, that doesn't mean you're talking about the topic of showing up, or the topic of getting moving, or the topic of letting go. It doesn't mean that, which honestly, that's something that a lot of people have trouble with.
It throws people for sure.
It throws people in there. And it's like, oh, he just said, and others have said, show up, let go, get moving. So I need to sit down with somebody,
my people, right?
An individual or a group, and talk about those three topics. No, it's about engaging people in those three processes. And so what you're doing is constantly engaging someone. And it's easy. For example, in using the ACT matrix, we can just say, let's start with who's important to you. Let's talk about who's important to you. And so I'll say, and for example, my wife is important to me. And so Phil will write down wife. Uh, and then others, Simon, Kelly, Jasmine, whoever's here can lob in on the chat and say, who's important to you?
I just added my son.
So Phil has added his son, and nobody else has added any. But, you know,
Daughters. Oh, daughters. Thank you, Simon.
That dog, yay, Melinda, dog.
Yay.
And that question, who is important to you? And then myself and Phil and all of us answering that question, now we're engaged in the process of get moving. That's what we mean by that. Okay, so that's part of the process. So you need never talk about get moving or values or diffusion or any of this terminology of ACT. That's not the purpose.
Yeah.
Another way of thinking of it is bicycle riding. You need no language at all.
Don't talk about it at all.
To ride a bicycle.
Nope.
You can have no language and ride a bicycle. And so that's sort of what this is. But it's a difficult thing to remember because we tend to fall back on teaching things. So we have terms and we teach them. Engagement then, no matter how, well, we engage by very specific process. We start with who's important. Now, this is the way we do it. You can do it other ways as well, but we like to do it. We do it this way because it's structured and repeatable, simple and repeatable.
Simple, repeatable. You can do it many places.
Right. Yeah, it ports across every context that we've tried it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
That goes from pre-K to senior citizens.
Yep.
Living environment. So this is useful. So, but that's that process. Then we go to the lower left and we say, oh, there's over here in the lower left we put yucky stuff. We call it yucky stuff. In tea time England over there, they call it the not once. We have several people we work with in the UK. Call it the not once. It's like fear. When we don't like fear showing up inside of us, and we don't want it, and that's the way it is. But there's many other things that people don't like going on inside of them. Can you think of another example beyond fear that shows up inside of people? Does it feel good?
Anxiety.
And that's, oh no, not the critical voice. Oh no.
Critical voice.
That's a rather common one, Simon. Yes, the critical voice, and it's unwanted. There's no doubt about it.
Depression.
You know, your critical voice shows up and you telling it to get out of here. I don't need your criticism. All of that stuff. So it's the not once. You don't want it there. And so then we talk about, and so in asking that question, the fear question, and then we get anxiety and depression and critical voice and all that stuff on board. Now we're engaging people in the letting go process. And acceptance is part of letting go. So that ability to identify your internal stuff and take it with you. And now it's not this thing where you have to consciously say, I must accept this. Not that, it's just you learn to have them and just get on about your business. That's ACT, by the way, basic. So that's the letting go process. We continue that with then going to behaviors. does act as a behavioral. In the end, it's about behaving. And so you say, hey, when I'm afraid, I oftentimes run. And so, and if it works, I get relief from the fear, right? So, yay, I got relief. So that's what we're going to list in the upper left is behaviors that hopefully get you relief from the yucky stuff. So what might people do to get relief from anxiety? I can think of a couple of things. Cancel.
Other things today.
Cancel. Good for you, Melinda. That's a good one. Yoga is another. Get relief from stress and stuff. Yoga. Yeah. Drinking's popular, by the way. Drinking alcohol is popular. Many states have legal cannabis now. Oh, you practice.
Practice beforehand.
Good idea. Practice. Yes. Reduce that anxiety. So, and all of these are relief moves, ways of getting relief. And we all do them, lots of them. We take aspirin or Tylenol or something for headaches. We go to the doctor for a broken arm. Go to the dentist
or a root canal. I'm doing that Friday.
He's doing that soon. These are relief moves, right? I mean, the great. I mean, dental pain really gets your relief motivation.
Yeah. Oh, you know what, Kevin? I noticed Simon had said earlier, does mental wrestling count as behavior?
Well, depends on who you ask.
Right. We say it depends a lot.
If you ask a true dyed-in-the-wool behaviorist, they would say yes, most definitely. That internal events like that are a form of behavior. They're a minority. The rest would say no. It's a mental event. It's not. You're not moving muscles.
Right.
You're not.
It's
not a muscular skeletal thing. It's only a chemical electrical thing going on in your mind. So you know what? And it doesn't matter one leg. It doesn't matter. And if somebody says that, what we usually do is do an internal loop in the bottom. So Phil over to the left can put mental wrestling and
I like that.
over there. And the reason is now from Matrix talk, or the Matrix, stuff above the horizontal line is observable, meaning I can videotape it or record it with a recording. Where if you're sitting in your easy chair doing mental wrestling, the only thing I can record is you sitting. I can't see the wrestling, the mental wrestling. So that's how we do it, is that we just say the stuff above the line is observable behavior. But we all know that we try to stop and wrestle with things and tell ourselves not to be critical of ourselves.
Think something different.
Right, all that kind of stuff. But that's how we do it. So now we got that, the upper left and the upper right. Hey, guess what? It's stuff that we do to approach, that is, get contentment with who's important to us. So we pet our dogs and we talk to our wives and we take our sons to play disc golf, because that's what Phil likes to do with his sons. Yep. I don't know what somebody put daughters. Simon.
Daughters, some for daughters.
Probably has something he does with his daughters, and they're approach moves. They're things that you play. Oh, and pay the bills. That's a good thing.
Bills.
I paid a bill for my daughter this morning.
Pay the bills for the daughter. I've done that a time or two.
Yeah, that'll teach you to have a daughter right there.
Really?
They're going to pay some bills. It's stuff like that. Yeah, it's approach stuff. It's stuff you do. And so now And so what in the even in the upper left, we were talking about letting go stuff. And in the upper right, when we get back over there, we're talking about get moving stuff, literally get moving uh, approach, who's important to you. And then we go back to say, hey, most of us might have the opportunity to notice all of this stuff showing up in our lives. Who's important showing up and yucky stuff showing up and noticing ourselves doing relief moves and contentment moves. Then you have the opportunity to notice all of that stuff. Most people go, yeah,
Yep.
I'd have the opportunity to do that. Now we've come back to showing up. So in doing that routine, the way Phil and I do it, you go from get moving over to let go, over to show up.
Track over in the middle.
And we don't, except for training things like this, we don't mention any of that. We just do the matrix. And sometimes the people who only know ACT as diffusion and acceptance and present moment experience and selfless context and all of that traditional ACT terminology. And we'll say, well, all the ACT processes are right there in the matrix. They go, what? And what they're saying is, no, it doesn't have acceptance. It doesn't have present moment experience.
Doesn't have committed actions.
Not explicitly, it doesn't have values. It doesn't have all this explicit stuff. And I'm like, well, we're not trying to do all that explicit stuff, except way in the background. What we're doing is engaging people in the processes of ACT. And the big process and the three more minor ones are get moving and show up and let go. And we just engage them in it. And we'll keep coming back to the bicycle. We just get them up on the bike and get them riding the bike. We don't need all that other terminology. So that's all well and good. And so we've engaged them, and now we have a way of, but in that last little bit, when I suddenly said, oh, you might have the opportunity to notice yourself having this stuff or doing this stuff in the near future, right? You might notice who's important to you showing up in your mental experience. You might notice yucky stuff showing up in your internal, your internal stuff. You might notice yourself doing relief behaviors, and you might notice yourself doing
approach.
I usually do the approach. I just say approach. And with that, what I did was I comprehensively distanced. And the original name for ACT is comprehensive distancing, getting distance from your verbalization of yourself. So the problem most of us have is we get that internal dialogue going, that critical self going, that woe is me stuff going, and we get too close to our stories.
Really close.
We're right down on top of our story.
Yeah. Crunched in there.
There's no distance from that story. And so what that is doing, so here's your baseline story. What that is doing is lifting your what's called observer self up off of that story. The comprehensive part is, well, you're doing it comprehensively. All kinds of different ways.
In the big picture.
The end result is the 30,000 foot view, the big picture, whatever you want to call it, as you get distance from the self. Now, when you get distance, what happens there is what the eggheads called it was psychological flexibility. And here's another term that behaviorists go nuts on. Choice enters into the picture. And the reason is a strict behaviorist says everybody just responds. There is no choice. Okay, great. But you know what? Out on the streets, people got choices. At least that's the way they think. They think they have choices.
Try talking people out of having choices.
All right, I got choices. So we're just going to go with choices, okay? And with that, choices. If you got that more distance view, well, you can say, "Ooh, I could go that way. Ooh,
Yeah.
I could go that way. Ooh," you know. Uh, and one of the act metaphors is uh, two people climbing separate mountains, and so the one person can look over where the other person's climbing, and they can see just where the other person needs to climb.
Yeah.
But the person who's got their body plastered up against the mountain over there, they can't they can't
You
see.
don't have the picture.
They don't have that big picture of where to go. So what this is trying to do, and it works. It's not even trying. It actually works. Is to get you that more distance view, and you start thinking, "Oh, gee, I might do this." Boom. That's a big deal in ACT. That, oh,
very,
gee,
very.
I might do this. There's really a technical name for it, but I'll wait till Friday to say that.
Yes.
But anyway, it's this creativity showing up. Let's just put it that way. Behavioral creativity showing up uh, is a bit harder with things like pain as opposed to thinking storytelling. Yeah, but pain has become part of your story, and people will say that I am a chronic pain patient. Okay, those words are very, very, very sticky. When I describe myself as a chronic pain person, or I have chronic pain. All of that means you're plastered up to the story in it. And I'm a chronic pain sufferer. I know how it can hit you up, but it can become your story. And this is all about as miserable as a lot of things can be in life. It's not you. It's not your story. It's not all of your story. It's part of your story, yes, but it's not all of your story. And so this is about keeping that behavioral flexibility that, gee, I can try something else. That's it. Is what we're going for. And so how do you go about doing that? Well, the whole idea of ACT is words. And that's why it says intermediate ACT training words.
Right.
So
Here's more. Here they are.
we have Phil and I love to use a very technical term, mucking with words.
Right.
That's MUCKING, mucking. If you're
Messing around with them.
messing around with them, we muck around with them, play with words. And ACT is based on the notion that words get us stuck. Okay? And we need to get a little less stuck with the words to redevelop our behavioral plasticity, if you wanted to use that term.
Or more repertoire.
Repertoire, right. So a little kid, before they have language, they're just running amok, trying every kind of behavior, right?
They're just a 5 sense experience everywhere.
Right. And they learn a lot doing that because they don't have words in the way. Now, words show up, get in the way, and you start talking yourself out of doing stuff. And you get very regimented. I must do things this way. And when I say I must do things this way, and Phil goes, but that's that shrinking behavioral
Narrows it down.
narrows it right down. That can be very useful. Okay.
Oh yeah. Like if there's a fire in the auditorium, right?
Can be very, very useful. But as in all things, it's a two-edged sword. And sometimes it's not so useful when we need to try out different behaviors and see if they work for getting us where we want to go in life. And so so intermediate ACT is understanding that you're messing with words, or if you don't like words, with stories.
Yeah.
With the person's
With the
story.
person's
Because you are a story. And if you don't think so, just when somebody asks you, where were you born? And you'll probably be able to tell them.
There's the beginning of your story.
And then they'll say, well, did you grow up there? And here it comes. You either did or you didn't. And if you didn't, you say, no, when I was a little bitty baby, my parents moved me across this. And here comes your story. This is your story, and you are a story. And it's these words. And all humans are like this, okay? Or at least 99.9% of them are like this. And so, how do you mess with it? Well, the original way of messing with story and act is metaphors. There's literally a book called The Great Big Book of Act Metaphors.
Big Book of Act Metaphors, I think.
Big Book of Act Metaphors, right? And they didn't write that just for nothing.
Nope.
Because and it goes like this. Somebody's telling their story. Usually it's in therapy, so it's a story of woe,
Yeah.
The woe is me story.
He done me wrong, that kind of stuff.
And if you have these act metaphors in your memory bank, then you can go, oh, that reminds me of a story or a metaphor, whatever one you want to say. And the one I just said about the two hikers, one's climbing this mountain and the other's climbing this mountain. And this one can look over and see where that one needs, the other one needs to go. They can see where each other needs to go, but they can't themselves. They're too close to it. They're too close to the side of the mountain. In act terms, they're too close to their story. Okay? So the metaphor helps lift you up off that story. And that's what it's for. We don't mind using metaphors.
No.
They're just not quite as useful to us because we learned how to do this thing called verbal Aikido. And verbal Aikido is the ability to take yours or other people's words, and here comes that word again, muck with them. Okay, that you play with them and you say, oh my God, what's he talking about? Yeah. Folks, it's easy. It's Phil and I don't do stuff that's not easy.
No.
Just it. So you have the diagram. Phil's going to hold up the diagram. And now somebody's telling a story. Their story of, oh my God, things will never get any.
I can't get out of this. I can't get out of this mess I'm in.
I can't get out of this mess. And so you say, oh my goodness, when you say those words, I can't get out of this mess. Where would you put them up here on the diagram? Now, in that instant, and I mean in that instant,
pow.
Pow. They just took a step back from the story.
Gotta go.
They had to.
Yeah.
Now we forced them into it. We will fully admit that.
Yeah, we're guilty.
By asking that question, you said those words. Where do you think those words go up here in this diagram? And the person stares at the diagram and starts processing, where would I put those words?
Where would they go?
Everything is blown. The story of woe is blown.
Getting obliterated.
It's all put on hold. Now the most important thing becomes sorting your words into the diagram. And the diagram is your story. Is what it is. It's a self-portrait. It's a story. When you put it up there, you know who's important to you. You know your favorite yucky stuff. You know your favorite relief moves. You know your favorite approach moves. This is your story. This is you. So when you say something like, I'll never get out of this fix, where does that go? Mm-hmm. Now, the reason we've paused is that where they say it goes does not matter. That'll twist your brain too.
Yeah.
Uh,
It doesn't matter. You just ask them. What do you mean?
and what we're pointing out is the distancing. Remember comprehensive distancing? The question all by itself got the response of distancing. Okay. Just the question.
Nothing else required.
Where they put it doesn't do any distancing.
No.
So we don't, wherever they want to put it's fine with us. We really don't stop to put it in the,
Wherever they want to put it.
Right, whatever.
They can put it even over there if they want.
Now, with that said, most people will put those words in the lower left, right? Or the upper left because they spoke them out loud.
Right.
They'll realize, oh, well, I spoke them out loud. Maybe that was relief. I'll put it up. They'll do something like that. Okay, fine. Whatever. But notice, okay, fine means, okay, it just.
That's great. You did it. You did it.
Right. The sorting already happened.
Yeah.
And now we're just waiting for the next opportunity to ask where is that? So Google keeps wanting me to put in a password.
Oh.
But then maybe they're going along and they're, oh man, I had a date with my girlfriend.
Oh. Pause. Press pause.
That's right. Remember the diagram up here? Yeah. Well, where would you put your girlfriend up on the diagram? So it doesn't have to be just yucky stuff. It could be girlfriends, boyfriends, dogs, cats, whatever. But that's part of their story. So what you now have is this ability to ever so nicely interrupt somebody's story and ask them where it goes in the diagram. We have found that we can remember to do that a lot better than finding just the right metaphor.
Yes.
Because we're no good at finding just the right metaphor.
Yeah.
Now, some people are. I mean, I'm not saying there are people that are really, really good at that. And but the metaphor is the same thing, folks.
Yeah.
It's distancing.
Right.
They're
getting at the same thing.
The metaphors and what we call verbal Aikido are getting at the same process, which is distancing, getting people to get some distance from their story. Right. So now they become their own other person on the mountain. They go, oh, I got choices.
Uh-huh. So Bob asked, how is I can't get out of this a relief move?
Well, it doesn't matter. It's not. We don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah,
that's where they said it was a relief move. We'd go, yeah.
That's where we put it. They could say it's a contentment move, and then we would put it over here.
We would write it down, or we'd give them a pen and let them write it down.
Even better.
The way we say it is it's just where somebody sorts doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the sorting, SORTING, the sorting that you engage somebody in. That's what matters. And if you get hung up just like that, well, how could that be a relief move? Well, now you got yourself in a spot where, you don't want to be.
Right. You want to be in process.
Right. Now you're trying to come up with the correct answer.
You want it to land somewhere.
Right. And ACT is this weird world of not looking for the correct answer.
Right.
It is a bit of a strange world because you're violating verbal rules.
Yeah.
Ways of conversing that we all do. And we all have this cause and effect, and these words need to be put into the right place and all of that stuff. And that's all mechanistic. It's taking words and being very mechanistic with them. It's like when somebody says a definition of a word and you say, oh, no, I disagree. That's not
Yeah.
the right definition
No.
of that.
I'm not buying that. Right.
Right. Well, that's mechanistic. That's not what we're doing here, which is we're literally working with people to get comprehensive distancing.
Which is part of showing up in the present moment.
And the byproduct of comprehensive distancing is, I'm going to say it in words.
Yeah.
Gee, I could try doing that.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like. Now, the technical term for gee, I could try doing that, or even better, I'll just do it.
Yes.
Don't even think
Just
it.
go off and do it.
Go off and do the new thing. That's called psychological flexibility. As a matter of fact, if you say, gee, I could do it, and then you don't do it, well, that's not psychological flexibility.
No.
Psychological flexibility is actually a behavioral term, meaning that you're behaving and taking everything with you. Who's important with you, yucky stuff with you, it's all going with you for the ride, right, while you do it. So now, what do us humans get into? That critical thinking. We get into, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't accomplish this. I can't get out of bed. I can't exercise. I can't ask that person out on a date.
Right.
You know, all of those things. You know, like, what do you mean you can't? Can you talk? Yeah. Okay. Then ask. But I can't. Well, that's your fears talking, right? That's that. So this is all about playing with the words this way. So that's intermediate act is essentially that.
Yep.
Is that you enter in the sort of the old school act would have been you learn to do metaphors. You learn to essentially it sounds like this reminds me of a metaphor, or a lot of people can't do it that way, so they just teach metaphors.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about this metaphor.
Here we go. Listen up.
And in the old PTSD program that I used to do, we used to do that.
Oh, I did that many times with groups.
Really, the topic of today's group is
we're here to explore today.
Metaphor. You know, for some people that works, but it's really not in the moment, and it's certainly more generalized. It's specific teaching that you hope generalizes.
Yeah.
That's what.
Hope.
And so that's the problem with it. Put things like Bible in order to take it all with you. Well, we don't, but you could.
You could if you want.
You could.
We've not found.
We'll be honest with you. We don't talk about mindfulness.
Yeah, we don't bring it up at all.
And now, before you start accusing me of not liking mindfulness, I mean, I can remember I took a graduate level mindfulness class, meaning we practiced mindfulness, but we also looked at the research behind the mindfulness. And so that included transcendental meditation and other stuff that was going on. And I practiced mindfulness, and here comes my words, tried to force other people, or at least cajole other people into doing mindfulness for years. And then one day I let go of that. And so I don't try to cajole myself into mindfulness, nor do I try to convince anybody else to do mindfulness.
I let go of that when Kevin showed me the Matrix. That's
right.
I let
now, what I will do is say, well, why don't you run through the Matrix? Now, the Matrix is in a way sort of kind of a mindfulness exercise. So will give you that. But really, if from an ACT point of view, it's a comprehensive distancing exercise, is what it is. Because as you fill in the quadrants of the matrix, you're doing distancing. I'm taking my story and putting it over there. My wife's over there now. My fear's over there.
Down here.
My running is up in the upper left. My talking to my wife is in the upper right. It's now distanced. I got distance from it. So that's what it's for. So we don't talk about mindfulness too much.
Yeah.
And our go-to thing for when we get lost and when other people sort of get lost in life, if you can get into the habit of remembering who's important to you.
Down here.
That's ground zero.
That's return to home base, folks.
And it works. We have ourselves and, well, now a few thousand other people that tell us, yeah, that works. Because life does. It gets away with you. It spins out of control.
Yep. Stuff happens.
And if you'll come back to who's important, it's very clarifying. Like, oh yeah.
It truly is. It really does. It's like a reset.
Because then what you here comes a word really, but what you really need to do shows up to you. Yeah. And it usually involves approach moves for who and what's important to you. Instead of running, screaming into the night.
And or mental gymnastics, as you have.
By the way, I would sort running, screaming into the night in the upper left.
Yeah, that's definitely a relief move.
That's definitely relief, right? Now we'll talk a little bit more, and just because folks are asking, we humans as a lot, well, we're skittish, we're afraid. Our ancestors. So our ancestors stayed in the bushes
for a reason.
The ones that didn't pass their DNA along, they crawled out of the bushes too soon.
Yeah.
So we're of the bunch who stayed back, but that means we're an anxious lot. But we're skittish. We're afraid. We're nervous. We don't have those feelings of anxiety, fear and anxiety and nervousness that we say. We come by those very naturally. Yeah. Okay. Why do I mention it? Because we're all primed up for relief moves. And by the way, staying put in the bushes, that's a relief move.
It's a safety move.
That's safety. Yeah. Keeping my ass safe. Right. So it's the amygdala, if you want to know the brain function, is basically the amygdala. And so we're amygdala creatures. And so why we do a bunch of relief moves, folks.
Whole lots.
Whole lots. So it's usually what happens is you trade off a relief move for an approach move. Yeah. It's very seldom. It's very seldom that a human needs to trade off approach to a relief. I'm not saying that's impossible, no, but just because of our fearful skin. I've always posited that one reason why humans and horses get along well is they're both skittish. Yeah, they're protecting themselves from danger. Horses are prey animals. I mean, they're preyed upon, and so they're always looking around, seeing if something's
up. Need their relief moves, just like we do.
And they do the same thing.
We're not trying to eliminate relief moves.
No. No. So anyway, that's how that happens a lot. Is that you'll end up trading off
Come over here and do one of these.
Trade a relief move for an approach move. Yep. That's essentially what we end up doing, and it works, by the way. Because you'll okay. My wife's important to me. So instead of staying home and pulling the covers over my head, I'll go do something for my wife. That's the kind of thing, right? And it's very grounding and it works. But that means I got the matrix on board, and I've played it a lot. Now,
Yeah.
you can any form of act works. We're not ever trying to diss on other forms of act, folks. We don't.
There are many paths up the
We
mountain.
know that
Aikido
there are
sensei's you.
great practitioners of acceptance and commitment training and therapy that do not use the matrix. We do, however, and we have found that it's a very handy way to train people and get them up and going. And a lot of people just like playing with the diagram. Let's admit it, folks. They just like playing with the
They
diagram.
have fun with it.
Right. They have a lot of fun with it. So, but it all that aside, whatever you're doing in ACT, you're working on comprehensive distancing in the service of increasing psychological flexibility, which means trying out new behaviors and seeing if they work to get you where you want to go in life. Now, that sort of brings us toward Friday. Advanced. The advanced stuff. And you heard me a couple of times say behaviors that get me where I want to go. That's the core of ACT. That's called workability, and that's the core of it. And so we'll be going over that on Friday, and because that's the philosophy. In those few words I've said, I'm actually saying a whole damn philosophy. Wow. And we'll do the philosophy, and then we'll do the more technical aspects of relational frame theory. Because when Phil and I say you're mucking with words, well, you dip into a theory of language and cognition called relational frame theory. And a little bit of knowledge in that is all you need to do some really cool mucking with words. And we'll get to that on Friday. And so before we go any further, if you go show somebody the matrix, most people will find that helpful. We're not kidding. Any context, doesn't training anywhere.
Do it in the store, do it at the bank, do it everywhere.
Anywhere you go, you show somebody the matrix, they'll even say, well, that's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, it's like self-awareness.
Oh, wow, this is cool. I like this. Oh, yeah. And they may even remember it and keep using it. Okay. That little bit of distancing from your story, because you're putting yourself out there on that diagram, and now you can look at yourself out there. And in ACT terminology, that's distancing. That's the cognitive distancing.
Space.
Just giving a little space, and it frees you up a little bit, and you can feel it.
Oh yeah.
People like it.
We say it loosens you up.
Yep. They'll say words like that.
People will say that to me. Oh yeah, loosens me up. Yeah.
I feel this is sort of neat, right? And that's beginning ACT. That's just bare bones beginning. The great thing about that is all other forms of ACT, the more traditional, you can't do that.
No.
They don't have really a very basic beginning step.
There's a lot of pieces you have to put in place to get to that.
And instead, we can just show people the mate. And remember, when we did it, we went through get moving, let go, and show up. Boom, boom, boom. We went through the 3 ACT processes. Boom, boom, boom. And we showed it to somebody in a restaurant or a bank or wherever.
Yep.
You can do it in less than a minute, actually. People go, oh, wow, how interesting. How cool. And you've done beginning ACT. Okay. So now the next level is, okay, I want to go past beginning. So I got a group of people in an office or something, and they need more comprehensive distancing. Okay. So now I'm entering into the world of metaphors and or verbal Aikido. Phil and I use verbal Aikido.
More into the training mode than
It's just simply saying, oh, that stuff you're saying, where does it go?
right.
That's it. The hardest part about that is remembering it doesn't matter where the stuff goes.
Right.
That's
'Cause your mind will want to sort.
your mind will. Oh, I'll even do it. I'll
Yeah.
sort for them.
You got to occupational hazard. You will catch yourself sorting for your people. That's
Right.
going to happen.
Right. You'll say, "Oh, you said, I'm never going to get out of this spot. That goes in the lower left," and you'll, "Oh shit!"
And then you notice. You just notice it. Oh, oops, my bad.
Yeah, believe it or not, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's okay.
No, the turntable will come around again.
Yeah, we're gonna get another shot at it. Most definitely. As long as they're throwing words your way, you're gonna have another shot at it. Let's put it that way.
Have it. But that's really what you're up to. And then the next is sort of like this nuanced stuff, this more deeper, well, it's more comprehensive distancing of looking at the philosophy and playing with words. And eventually you do this enough, like we go to Friday and you do this enough, and words become playthings. Which for most people, that is really a foreign concept.
Oh, man. Relating differently to words. Wow.
Right. They don't, you don't spend much time thinking about words.
Nope.
You just use them.
Yeah.
Right?
They just come out.
That is right. Now, but the problem is, and I agree with this. I learned psychodynamic psychotherapy. I learned CBT. I've learned all kinds of management stuff to teach other people and all this. I've been around for a lot of years in this 40 years in this business, and this one makes the most sense for loosening people up so they'll try new behaviors.
Yeah.
Hell, loosening myself up so I'll try new behavior. That's the great thing about ACT is it always works on you.
A bi-directional process, folks.
So you'll do it. So the more you do it, but the way to start for our purposes, and it works just fine for anybody. Steve Hayes will even tell you this. Just do the matrix. He's the original guy that called it a loop, meaning you start in the lower right, you go to the lower left, you go to the upper left, and you go to the upper right. That's a loop. And it was Steve Hayes that said, "Oh, that's a loop." So, I mean, he knows this. It's a loop, and do it just like that. Looks just like that. So just do yourself a loop around the matrix. Doodle it. You'll see. Play with other people with it. And if you didn't do anything but that, you would help yourself and other people.
Way cool.
You never have to go to the metaphors or the verbal.
You don't have to remember all that, memorize them all. Nope.
Just do that. It's a helpful process. It's really fun. And we'll be back on Friday, but we like to talk about the advanced stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't go get them college educations or university educations, as they say elsewhere, for nothing. We like playing with that stuff.
See those words for Friday. Process on Monday and Wednesday.
We'll play with that. But we do invite you to click on the green button and buy one of our courses.
Check them out.
We're not high pressure salesmen or anything. We're just not going to ever do it that way. But there have been already several people who purchased the course. And Jasmine, we're going to do, if Jasmine is Jasmine's with us. We're going to do a 1-hour ACT as pattern recognition on demand course. And anybody who's here with us, Jasmine is with us, and she's the one who has inspired us to.
You are the impetus, Jasmine.
But we thought, hey, we'll do the course too. That'll be fun. So by the way, Phil, I started writing on the slideshow.
Excellent. I'm going to get busy with the graphics then.
That has started. So we'll do that. Always do the 2 loops, right? No, we're teaching ACT, so we didn't do the second loop today.
Yeah.
You can. You can definitely. If you're an advanced matrix person, you can do the second loop. The second loop is the pro-social loop, and you start with the question, what's our shared purpose? So I don't want to leave anybody in the dark.
Nope.
But you're working with 2 or more people
Yeah.
when you do that. And they're quite right. When Phil and I work with groups, we do both loops. We do the individual loop, which is what you saw today. And
On here.
then we add the second loop.
There's a second loop.
So, it's fun. It's all fun. We have a lot of fun with it. Very rewarding to do with people. And once you get enough confidence that you'll just go show it to anybody, then it's really a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, show the matrix to anybody. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. People go, wow. I've even had people say, "Oh, that's cosmic."
Right. Yeah. Someone said to me, "Oh, this is sublime."
Sublime. There we go. Got sublime, cosmic. It's fun getting those responses from people.
Yeah, you're really getting it then. Yeah. And Andrew says it just works.
You know what? And oh yeah, Andrews. Exactly.
At the end of the day, it just works.
He's an expert.
Yeah, he knows. He's got
just showing up for giggles here because
really
expert.
He's poking in.
But it just works. It just does. You don't need any fancy language. You don't need any. It's just a plain old 2-wheel bicycle with some pedals and a chain, and it just works.
Yeah,
get you from point A to point B. And from point A you're stuck, and point B is you're less stuck.
You're less stuck
because we're all stuck because we have language.
Helping people get out of the weeds.
Yeah, get out of the weeds. We'll be back on Friday.
Yes.
I hope you all have fun.
Take it easy. Do a loop. Get a chance.
Yeah, do a loop or loot. Do 2. What the heck?
Very good, Melinda. Keep using.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.